Good afternoon, everyone. It's very nice to be here today. I don't know whether my presentation is hot as the outside temperature, but I will do my best efforts. Dr. Wang Wen, Dean of Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies, Dean of School of Global Leadership, distinguished professors, scholars, friends and colleagues. At the outset, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to join other ambassador colleagues in Beijing and deliver a speech at RDCY Forum for Area Studies Ambassador Series at this very distinguished Renmin University. I'm honored to be here, a prestigious institution and one of China's top universities, maybe the top university in China. In fact, some of my Japanese colleagues of the embassy have studied at Renmin University, as was introduced at the outset. They are here with us today, and they are very, very proud to be alumni of this university. Today, I would like to talk about the current state and future of Japan-China relationship. First, allow me to introduce myself. I joined the Foreign Ministry of Japan in 1983, and my previous overseas assignments cover Australia, Malaysia, Washington, D.C. of the United States, Republic of Korea, ROK, and as Deputy Chief of Mission, and most recently, Indonesia as ambassador. Yes, as you can see. I'm not a so-called China hand diplomat. Throughout my career, though, I gained some personal experiences with China. In particular, from 2016 to 2019, I served as the Director General of the Asian and Oceania Affairs Bureau, and later as Senior Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, where I was deeply involved in Japan-China relations. During that time, Prime Minister Abe Shinzo and President Xi Jinping held numerous meetings, and the wheels of Japan-China relations started to turn gradually, leading to Prime Minister Abe's official visits to China in October 2018. I had the privilege to greet and shake hands with President Xi Jinping on several occasions as a member of the Japanese delegation at that time. Following my posting in Indonesia, I was appointed as ambassador to China at the end of 2023. Since then, I had dedicated myself to promoting a stable and mutually beneficial relationship between Japan and China. Today, drawing on my own experiences, I would like to share my thoughts on the current state of Japan-China relations, the issue we face, and my vision for the future. Since my arrival here, I have been prioritizing open communication with Chinese people. I have actively sought opportunities to engage with government officials, business leaders, media representatives, academia, and students, meeting with them in person, listening to their perspectives, and having frank discussions. China is a vast country with diverse regional characteristics. To gain a multifaceted understanding of China, I have been visiting various places of this country. In the past year and a half, I had traveled to a total of 18 cities across 10 provinces and 4 municipalities, experiencing firsthand the unique cultures and landscape of each region. For example, my visits to Dunhuang in Gansu province, I was deeply impressed by the grandeur of the Mogao Caves, one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The Mogao Caves, a historical hub along the Silk Road, served as a crossroads of various cultures and faith. Japan learned a great deal about culture and technology from China through the Silk Road. Standing in the presence of such a profound history, I was reminded of the deep cultural ties that have existed between our two countries. Also, my visits to Chongqing revealed not only the vibrancy of a rapidly developing city, but also the warmth and welcoming nature of its people, giving me a strong sense of China's dynamism. The Chongqing cuisine, such as hot pot and Chongqing noodles I enjoyed there, were particularly delicious, highlighting the richness of local culinary culture. Through my visits to numerous other cities, I have experienced the unique traditions and vitalities of each people and place. At the same time, I place particular importance on interacting with the younger generation of Chinese who will shape the future Japan-China relations. Visiting Renmin University today and having the opportunities to speak with the professors and students is truly invaluable to me. I have so far visited 11 universities in total, sharing my vision on current Japan and directly listening to what students are interested in about Japan. With the goal of fostering greater interest in Japan among a wider audience, I opened a personal account on Weibo upon my arrival in China and started posting in April last year. This is the first time for a Japanese ambassador to China to have engaged in such proactive communication through social media. Some of you here today may already be following my Weibo account. Thank you very much. For those who are not yet, I quietly encourage you to follow me. I hope that by sharing a glimpse of my life in China, I may be able to help younger generation of Chinese develop a sense of familiarity with the Japanese people and stimulate their interest in my country. Now I'd like to touch upon Japan-China relations. Japan and China share a relationship that is sometimes difficult, but always indispensable to each other. Here, I'd like to stress that successive Japanese prime ministers and Chinese president have always shared the greater picture on how to manage our relationship. We call it a mutually beneficial relationship based on common strategic interest. To put it simply, a mutually beneficial relationship based on common strategic interest means that as neighbors separated by only a narrow body of water, both countries inevitably face challenges that may sometimes look unsurmountable. It is crucial, however, for us to manage these outstanding issues effectively and preventing them from negatively affecting the overall relationship while we endeavor to enhance cooperation for the mutual benefit of both countries and for the international community. Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru, who took office September last year, met with the Premier Li Chan in Lao PDR October last year, and subsequently President Xi Jinping in Peru last November, where they both agreed to fully promote a mutually beneficial relationship based on common strategic interest. In December last year, Japan's Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi visited China, followed by China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visits to Japan, March this year, marking a reciprocal exchange of visits by the foreign ministers of both countries. These meetings have served as catalyst for reinvigorating various exchanges and dialogue between our two countries, which had been somewhat disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. While Japan-China relations are currently on a stable trajectory, it is important to bear in mind that various challenges and unresolved issues still remain. As major economic powers with global significance, Japan and China play vital roles in promoting peace and development in the region and the world. transcending our bilateral relations. In other words, cooperation between our two countries could make a significant contribution to peace and development in Asia and beyond. In this context, let me share my personal experience with you. When I was about to be transferred from Indonesia to Beijing, many of my Indonesian friends told me that a stable relationship between Japan and China is crucially important not only for Indonesia and ASEAN, but for the entire Asian region, and earnestly urged me to work towards stabilizing Japan-China relations. I carry those words in my heart as I serve my post in Beijing. Under the current circumstances, we must continue to engage in dialogue and exchange, effectively managing differences, advancing problem solving, and expanding areas of practical cooperation. This requires not only the efforts of both governments, but also the broad participation and support of both peoples. We need to work hand in hand to ensure that Japan-China relations develop steadily into the future. The most difficult aspect of current Japan-China relations is the sentiment between the two peoples. Very unfortunately, there are still some negative perception that lingers in Japan regarding China, and vice versa in the Chinese society regarding Japan. This situation cannot be easily remedied overnight. Yet, what is imperative is to make steady progress, addressing concrete challenges one by one, and proactively promoting practical cooperation. A mutually beneficial relationship based on common strategic interest must not become an empty slogan. Outstanding problems must be resolved and practical cooperation be enhanced so that people of both Japan and China feel the benefits of our improved relationship. Let us not forget to make continuous efforts to advance Japan-China relations. Again, this is not a goal that could be achieved by government alone. We need the cooperation of all stakeholders, including the business community, media, and academia, to drive this process forward. Even if it is only one step at a time, we are committed to working towards this process here in Beijing. We would be really grateful for your support. Looking ahead, Japan currently holds the presidency of Trilateral Japan-China ROK cooperation process. We aim to leverage the opportunity of the Trilateral Summit to be held in Japan in the near future to address advanced Japan-China relations. Also, Prime Minister Ishiba expressed his intention to visit China, and I hope to make this happen at an appropriate time in the near future. While no concrete dates have been set at this point, we will continue to move forward step by step. Given the context of Japan-China relations, I would like to add a brief comment on Japan's relationship with the United States. The United States is Japan's only ally, and therefore maintaining a stable relationship with the United States is crucial for Japan. Of course, Japan-US relations are not problem-free. On the contrary, as we are all well aware of, a significant challenge is currently posed by the large-scale tariff hikes unleashed by President Trump. The US tariff measures are not acceptable to us. We have already explained to the US side the impact of these measures on Japan's economy and have urged the United States to promptly reconsider their relevant policies. Furthermore, Japan has always thrived within a rule-based multilateral free trading system. Therefore, as a matter of principle, upholding and enhancing this system remains of paramount importance for Japan. Japan has been negotiating with the United States based on this principle. At the same time, China is Japan's largest trading partner, and the range of factors, including historical bonds and geographical proximity, give Japan-China relations a unique and profound significance. Both relations with China and with the United States are vitally important to Japan, and there is no panacea for ensuring a smooth relationship with either. What is best is to maintain broad communication both with China and with the United States, and to make our best efforts for a stable relationship with both. Next, I would like to talk about the importance of Japan-China economic relations. China is the world's second largest economy, and its sustained development is indispensable, not only for China itself, but for the entire world. This year's two sessions focus the importance of expanding consumption, promoting high-level opening up, and developing new quality productive forces. Inevitably, these areas of development will have a significant impact on Japan-China economic relations. The expansion of consumption in China is going to further stimulate the Chinese market, thereby creating new business opportunities for Japanese companies. Currently, over 10,000 Japanese companies are operating throughout China with bases at over 30,000 locations. We all know that the Chinese market is highly competitive, and foreign business communities, including Japanese, face numerous challenges and difficulties. However, a considerable number of Japanese companies have likened China to a fitness center. Despite the competitive and challenging market environment in China, they see this market as an ideal place to hone their skills and enhance their global competitiveness. These Japanese companies hold a firm belief that they cannot compete globally without succeeding in the Chinese market. From this perspective, many Japanese companies are collaborating with Chinese partners to develop and conduct research on such areas as electric vehicles and autonomous driving technology, amongst others. This is a good example of both countries learning from and growing with each other. The increasing number of Japanese corporations are also forming partnerships with Chinese counterparts to tap into third country market. Also, our leaders have reconfirmed in the past meetings, we identify significant opportunities for cooperation in areas such as the environment, new energy, and disaster prevention and mitigation. Moreover, as Japan and China both face the common challenges of aging populations and declining birth rates, deeper cooperation is expected in areas such as elderly welfare and healthcare. While cooperation in such area is only just beginning, some companies have already started initiatives such as developing housing projects for senior citizens. In the future, they may also establish and operate diverse types of senior care facilities in China. In addition, Japanese companies have been providing Chinese consumers with their proficient services cultivated over many years in the Japanese market. Japanese brands such as Uniqlo, Yoiku, Sushiro, Shosuran, Saizeriya, Saria, Muji, and Nitori, Idari, all these companies on the screen have gained recognition among Chinese consumers. As Japan has gone through the 30 years deflation after the burst of the bubble economy in early 1990s, these companies created the unique business model in Japan so that they can offer high-quality products with affordable prices. Their business model became quite a success in China as well, and it is encouraging to see that many Chinese customers have embraced Japanese services. That said, however, Japanese business communities here are not entirely satisfied with the current situation, where they do not always enjoy the level playing field with domestic Chinese companies. We are conveying these concerns of Japanese companies to the Chinese government and urging them to pay closer attention to those opinions. Let me take this opportunity to appeal to you the changing nature of Japanese companies. From your perspective, they might seem to have lost their former luster. It may be true that the era is over when Japan-made home appliances such as refrigerators, washing machines, and television dominated the world market. Japanese companies, however, continue to pursue tenacious businesses in many areas. They are less visible to you now as their focus has shifted away from B2C to B2B. In other words, they are now not targeting Chinese consumers, but rather playing a greater role as suppliers of core components to Chinese business partners. For example, please consider your mobile phone. In a single mobile phone, there are between 800 and 1,000 tiny components called multi-layer capacitors. Japanese companies manufacture at least more than half of those capacitors. They are constantly striving to supply capacitors that are smaller and more durable. In this way, an increasing number of Japanese companies are conducting inconspicuous but tenacious business activities all around the world. Hopefully, this piece of information will be helpful for you as you consider future career path after graduation. Now, let me turn to people-to-people exchanges between Japan and China. While travel between the two countries have been recovering in recent years after the COVID-19 pandemic subsided, it is not yet fully back to pre-pandemic levels. Of course, the number of visitors from China to Japan is steadily increasing, with 7 million people last year and an expected surge to over 10 million this year. However, a sizable portion of those visitors are so-called repeaters who have already experienced Japan, and we need to encourage so-called first-timers of Chinese to visit Japan. There is also a need to introduce the charms of Japan's regional areas to more Chinese people. Regarding Japanese people visiting China, there has been a noticeable increase in business people visiting China after the Chinese government resumed visa-free entry for Japanese at the end of November last year. This has made it more convenient for them to conduct business-related consultations in China. Unfortunately, there are still some Japanese who feel anxious about visiting China due to differing reasons. We continue to raise this issue with the Chinese government on various occasions. As the old proverb goes, seeing is believing. It is vitally important to actually visit a country and understand its people through first-hand experiences. We will continue to work towards a more vibrant exchange between Japan and China so that peoples of both countries could experience the benefits of improved relations firsthand. In this context, allow me to remind you that the Osaka Kansai Expo opened in April, and since then, many Chinese people are visiting Osaka. This event is a fantastic opportunity to promote international exchanges. During the expo, 30 Chinese provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities will each host a week of regional activities. And also July 11th is designated as National Day for China. The expo website has announced a schedule of activities for each Chinese province. I encourage you to choose a time to visit the expo that aligns with the activities of a region with which you are familiar. The Chinese pavilion is now one of the most popular facilities for visitors to Expo, attracting more than 10,000 people per day. We hope to fully leverage the Osaka Kansai Expo to promote even more diverse exchanges and deepen friendships and cooperation with the international community, particularly with China. The new bonds forged through this expo will further strengthen future Japan-China relation. Despite facing challenges due to our shared history as neighbors, Japan and China have learned from each other and grown together through over 2,000 years of interaction. I often cite the example of Konghai, a Japanese monk who travels to China during the Tang Dynasty in the 8th century, studied the esoteric Buddhism at the Qinlong Temple in Xi'an, and brought his learnings back to Japan. The esoteric Buddhism to this day continues to be passed down unbroken in Mount Koya of Wakayama Prefecture in Japan. In China, the esoteric Buddhism gradually faded away, but in recent years, Chinese monks from the Qinlong Temple visited Mount Koya to learn and brought it back to China. This exchange of knowledge across a time span of 1,200 years is profoundly moving, and I'm quite certain that there are abundant similar examples. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. Japan has repeatedly expressed the feeling of deep remorse and heartfelt apology for its action during the war. Such position articulated by successive cabinets will remain unshakable into the future. At the same time, Japan, for the past 80 years, has contributed to peace, world peace and prosperity. While taking silent pride in the path we have walked as a peace-loving nation for as long as 80 years, we remain determined never to deviate from this steadfast course. In fact, Prime Minister Ishiba, as recently as at the end of last month, reiterated this determination of ours during his address at a forum in Japan. I hope that Chinese friends understand such determination amongst the Japanese people. This 80th anniversary serves as a pivotal moment to build a new relationship for the future, especially in addressing common challenges such as the environmental issues and responding to aging societies. We must build a relationship where both people on both sides can feel the benefit through cooperation. Let us work together to further develop a future-oriented Japan-China relationship that deepens trust between our two nations and shares peace and prosperity. In closing, I'd like to renew my appreciation for your presence and kind attention today. Thank you very much. Thank you.